Tonight on KPBS Evening Edition, the Defense Department orders a closer look at mental health evaluations for veterans of the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. And is it public policy or a campaign stunt? A city council committee takes up a debate over road repairs.
San Diego Congresswoman Susan Davis is worried about cuts to the military. She joins me at the roundtable tonight, and we'll have a look at a movement to get science back into political debates.
And from our Fronteras desk, stories of drug violence in Mexico told with an artist's paintbrush. KPBS Evening Edition starts now. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Dwayne Brown. The Defense Secretary has ordered all branches of the military to conduct a review of mental health issues involving troops. It follows criticism of how the services treat people who suffer from post-traumatic stress. The VA San Diego health care system is adding 37 staff members to support its mental health operations. San Diego is home to about 30,000 veterans from Iraq and Afghanistan, the largest concentration in the country. An Associated Press report shows 154 active duty troops committed suicide this year, compared to 138 who lost their lives in combat. Defense Secretary Leon Panetta is urging the Navy, Marines, and Air Force to follow the Army's lead and conduct an independent study on how it evaluates troops struggling with mental health issues. Today, a San Diego City Council committee rejected Councilman Carl DeMaio's bid for a ballot initiative to beef up funding for road repairs. DeMaio wanted to dedicate surplus revenue to fixing city streets. He says San Diego's roads will continue to deteriorate under the budget passed this week. 2 years ago, you may recall, the transportation group rated our roads the 8th worst in the nation.
San Diegans don't need a survey to tell you that. San Diegans know that because they drive on these bad roads every day.
Some members of the Council Rules Committee said the measure was a campaign move disguised as public policy. DeMaio is, of course, running for mayor. His opponent, Congressman Bob Filner, was at today's meeting.
This is a priority over police, over fire, over education, over environment. It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
DeMaio says he will not pursue putting the measure on the ballot through a petition drive, but he says he'll take it up again if he is elected mayor. One of DeMaio's supporters has increased his margin in the race for city council. The latest count shows Scott Sherman will not have to face a runoff for the 7th district seat. He needed 50% plus one to win outright. Now in the 52nd congressional district, Scott Peters remains in the lead over Lori Saldana. One of them will face Brian Bilbray in the general election. And the contest for Superior Court Judge Office 34 has been a roller coaster ride. As of today's count, Gary Creep has taken the lead over Garland Peed by 216 votes. The county registrar says there are still 13,500 ballots to be counted. The city of San Diego is hiring outside lawyers to handle lawsuits filed by the victims of a former police officer. Anthony Arevalos is serving a 9-year sentence for assaulting women after stopping them for driving under the influence in the Gaslamp Quarter. Arevalos and the city are now facing a dozen lawsuits from the alleged victims. Democratic lawmakers in Sacramento say they're moving ahead with their budget plan. Even though the governor hasn't signed off on it, the legislature has until Friday to pass a balanced budget. Democrats say they won't approve more than $1 billion in program cuts for the poor. They say they've come up with a way to close the budget gap without those cuts. Governor Jerry Brown has said the Democrats' plan is not structurally balanced. State prison realignment has led to a big drop in the inmate population in California. Fewer inmates means fewer workers are needed. And today, the State Corrections Department says more workers are being laid off. Officials aren't saying how many pink slips are going out, just the number is in the hundreds. 26,000 layoff notices went out last fall, but only 545 workers lost their jobs. As we told you earlier this week, a new super PAC will be running ads opposing defense cuts. At least one San Diego congresswoman says the military spending issue is not as simple as it seems. Representative Susan Davis joins Joanne Farian at the roundtable.
Congresswoman Susan Davis, a Democrat, captured nearly 58% of the vote in last week's primary. She will run against Republican Nick Popovich in a runoff election in November. Representative Davis is currently a member of the House Armed Services Committee and ranking member of the Military Personnel Subcommittee. She joins me now. Thanks for being here, Congresswoman.
Hi, nice to be with you.
So first, I just want to talk a little bit about your district, District 53. The lines were redrawn, and it's changed quite a bit, hasn't it?
It has changed. I think that people usually think of the 53rd District as a coastal district along with the sort of central San Diego. And basically the lines took us beginning around the Hillcrest, Mission Hills area, and then going east. The Lemon Grove community and parts of La Presa and Spring Valley have been part of the district, but now we pick up areas of the city of La Mesa, of course, a portion of El Cajon, areas of Del Cerro, Allied Gardens, and so it is quite different. We retained San Diego State University, which is where we are right now.
And still predominantly a Democrat district as well. I mentioned you're standing on two military committees. As you know, people here in San Diego are following the news of potential cuts, defense cuts. First, let's clarify. There's the round of budget cuts, but then there's something else that we're talking about in terms of a congressional subcommittee that did not reach a compromise, and now we may be subject to a 10% cut across the board.
That's right. The Budget Control Act really controlled what's happening in the committees right now, and certainly in the Armed Services Committee. So there were some targets that the Pentagon had, and we tried to meet them. The committee also as a whole, and that was the majority that made some decisions that the Pentagon had not necessarily sought, to keep some budgets, to increase some budgets. And so we still have to work through that as the Senate and the House come together in a conference report. But that's basically in process and done. What happened, and we use the word sequestration, and you've mentioned a little bit about how did we get there. Well, we got there basically because of the debt ceiling that we had to deal with. We had payroll tax cuts. We had a lot of issues that were coming together at one time. And it was felt that a group of individuals from both sides of the aisle and with the Senate could come to some agreement and could possibly stave off that kind of major cut, which is about 10% across all the areas of the government. And they were not successful at that. And so we now have this looming problem, and it's not just sequestration. There are a lot of problems that are coming together by the end of the year and the beginning of 2013. Tremendous challenges for the country. And we all want to see our way through out of this. I think there are some ways that we can do that, and part of it is how we deal with the extension of the Bush tax cuts, whether for the wealthiest individuals or for the middle class.
We've got 100,000 active military personnel here in San Diego. What is your biggest worry when you look at these two sets of cuts in terms of San Diego?
Well, right now, I think in the Budget Control Act, there are no real concerns per se in terms of the benefits that our men and women and their families receive, because we basically protected those, and I believe the Senate will do the same under the current negotiations.
So the salaries they receive, the benefits
they got the raise, the benefits didn't really change. There are some minor issues around prescription drug benefits, but not major issues that are really being debated. But there are some additional issues around some cuts for San Diego. But I think when we see our position now on the Pacific Rim, and even with the idea if there was a BRAC, and at this point it's not a real serious discussion, I think we're very well positioned, and so I don't think we're going to see problems. The problems will come if there is a 10% cut across the board. And the reason that our major defense industries are worried about this is because there are contracts which they have to adhere to, and yet if there's a 10% cut, what happens to those contracts? There's another way, I think, to get at that if we have to, but the best way to get at it is to see a balance, to have the revenues coming into the country. Particularly, I think we need to protect the middle class because this is still a very, very difficult economic time. But for those who are very wealthy and have certainly benefited, I think getting back to what really was during the Clinton era, we all did really very well at that time, and I think we can take a look at how we can come forward and do this better.
I want to pick up on that. We don't have a lot of time left, but you are running for re-election. So just a couple of areas with just some, yes or no responses. You mentioned a balance of revenues. So if re-elected, would you support raising taxes? And if so, what area would you like to target?
Well, I think we want to see this as a balance as best we can. But right now, as I said, I don't think we need to target the middle class. And I think we can keep those extensions. But really, the bulk of savings really came to those who have benefited from a good economy when the economy was strong. Everybody has taken a hit, but I think we need to continue. We need to pull out that extension of those tax cuts. But we also need to look at our tax code. A package that would really be honest and would say, what is it that we don't need to be doing anymore? We have agricultural subsidies that are being discussed right now. There are a whole range of issues that I think we could actually come together if we could just get people thinking more about compromise.
We are out of time, but we would love to invite you back closer to the election. Also have the Republican running against you, Nick Popovich, join you as well. And also I want to send people to our website, kpbs.org, because I know you had a much longer conversation with Maureen Cavanaugh earlier today, so people can hear that as well. Thank you so much.
Great. Good to be with you. Thank you.
Home sales took a big jump in San Diego last month, up 21.5% from the same time last year. Prices also went up 3.2%. Real estate analysts say the market's getting better because of low interest rates and the improving economy, and a widening sense the housing sector is at or near bottom. The city of San Diego collected a record amount of hazardous waste in the past year, all from community recycling events. More than 5,700 gallons of used motor oil was dropped off, and 10 tons of household batteries and fluorescent light bulbs. The Environmental Services Department credits a new pilot program. It says the batteries and bulbs would have been disposed of improperly otherwise. They will now be standard items at all recycling events. President Obama's pick to head the Nuclear Regulatory Commission says she will try to make the agency more open, efficient, and transparent. Allison McFarland testified before a Senate committee today on nuclear power plants. Senator Barbara Boxer is chair of that committee and supports McFarland's nomination. The NRC is currently investigating problems at the San Onofre power plant.
Sometimes in political debate, the facts get in the way, and that is precisely the problem my next guest is hoping to address. Dr. Peter Frumhoff is the Director of Science and Policy at the Union of Concerned Scientists. Dr. Frumhoff is here to explain the new initiative, which launches here today in San Diego. Thank you for being here.
My pleasure, Joanne.
So who are these concerned scientists, and what are you concerned about?
So the Union of Concerned Scientists is an organization that was founded some 40 years ago by a group of originally physicists concerned about the misuse of funding that was only going for physics research in the defense community. This was during the Vietnam War, and expanded to really look for ways for scientists across the spectrum of expertise. I'm a biologist, to put their voices into making sure science is heard in policy debates ranging from climate change to energy to sustainable agriculture to nuclear power to nuclear safety to military issues. And we're deeply involved in a range of science policy debates, and we're concerned today with building a Center for Science and Democracy, which is really about restoring that kind of pragmatic, evidence-based dialogue where facts really matter, where people are maybe entitled to their own opinions but not entitled to their own facts on a range of issues. And that's what we're doing here today at the Scripps Institute of Oceanography.
We see this, don't we, with climate change as one example, where we sort of have these emotional arguments and we lose sight of what the facts say, don't we?
We do. In fact, just yesterday, the good state of North Carolina, the Senate in the state of North Carolina, passed a bill basically telling all of the coastal counties of that state to ignore the science of sea level rise. Sea level rise is projected to increase by about a foot, by about 3 feet this century in coastal planning, that they really don't want the science of climate change, of sea level rise, to be part of the decision-making apparatus in the state. And despite what their science advisors are telling them, despite what the National Academy of Sciences is telling them, and that's just no way to run a government, in my view. And that kind of rejection of good science is dangerous, and we should really be moving back to a place where we can vigorously debate what to do about an issue, whether it be climate change or nuclear safety or any issue that confronts us today that has a science component. But we should really start with the facts.
You say moving back, so it wasn't always this way, and what changed so that now we are losing sight of science?
Well, we have a long history and tradition in this country of rational debate. Our founders were not just Benjamin Franklin, kind of the archetype of our founder scientists, cared deeply about science and openness and respect for facts. Abraham Lincoln founded the National Academy of Sciences in the middle of the Civil War to help ensure that our government had good science to inform our decision making. President Nixon put into act the Clean Air Act, which was a science-based piece of legislation to control pollutants and protect public health. We've had a long history of bipartisan kind of pragmatic decision-making about issues that affect us. And that's really been lost today. We've got a very partisan political climate. There's been a disappearing middle in American politics, and people, certainly in government in many places, do feel like they're entitled to their own facts. And the goal of the center is to really reawaken a public dialogue about the values of science and the values of our democracy, and what we believe is kind of a dormant pragmatism that can overcome, if we're successful, the kind of partisan rancor that leads people to reject information, even as we may need to debate over what to do about a problem.
Should we blame the media a little bit? I mean, science can be complicated, and sometimes the truth is complicated, and if it doesn't fit into a 15-second soundbite, then basically you don't get heard. How does the media play a role in this?
Well, we've certainly seen a decline in good science journalism in the media. A lot of people who've been writing about science in the print media have lost their jobs, but we've also had a diversification of the media. So there's a broad range of places where people can get their sources of information, or in many cases misinformation. In the digital media, people can go to and tend to go to places that reinforce their values, right? And so, whether it's MSNBC or Fox News or public television, it's hard for folks to figure out, to distinguish facts from what Stephen Colbert calls truthiness, right? To really know what the basic facts are. And so it is a challenge. The media does have a responsibility, but I would say that scientists also have a responsibility to get out of our labs, to be more outspoken with the public, to engage in public conversation about what we know, and to listen to the public and really understand what concerns are so that we can have more of a two-way dialogue than we've had to date.
We are out of time, but we have a lot more information about your initiative on our website, kpbs.org, a number of links. People can find out more about it. Thank you, Doctor, for being here.
My pleasure.
There's a bit more space tonight for drivers waiting to pick someone up at San Diego's airport. Signs for the cell phone parking lot are up just before you arrive at Terminal 1. It's where folks can wait for calls to pick up passengers. The old lot had just 50 parking spaces. The new one is nearly twice the size. And it's been moved closer to Lindbergh Field's commuter terminal. San Diego's getting its first nonstop service to Asia. Japan Airlines is offering the flights from here to Tokyo starting in December. Tickets will go on sale tomorrow. Mexican voters will go to the polls to elect a new president on July 1st, and the violence caused by rival drug cartels could influence the vote. As part of our series, The Border and the Mexican Ballot, Fronteras Desk reporter Peter O'Dowd tells us about a Texas artist who brings the drug war to life. Of course, we want to warn you, some viewers may find some of the images disturbing.
Well, my name's Rigoberto Gonzalez. I was born in Reynosa, just across the border from McAllen, Texas. And I came here when I was 9 years old. I would consider myself a figurative painter, and I do narratives, stories. The artwork that I've always admired, from the Renaissance and the Baroque period. Those paintings tell stories. This body of work, dealing with the violence in Mexico, I started, I think the first painting that I did, it was a small severed head, a little like 20 by 18. The head is life-size. It's probably like in 2007. Because at that time, that's when it was started to be more on the news. And because of my interest in Baroque art, I couldn't help but connect it with like paintings of the head of John the Baptist and, the head of Goliath. And the stories, they can be stories that I hear on the news, that I read on the newspaper, that I hear on the radio, or stories that people tell me of things that have happened to them. There was a photo from the newspapers in Reynosa. There was a lady whose son had been killed by crossfire, and the composition was just like a Pietà from Renaissance. And you look at the armor of the Mexican Federal Police. It's as impressive as the armor of the Roman soldiers. For some reason, I've always had this interest in doing things that are terrible and beautiful. It does give me angst, but I think that's what great art really should inspire. There has been reluctance in some places to show the work because of the negative stories that I'm telling. But my hope is that it has like a cathartic quality to it. You can't keep suppressing it, and I want you to talk about it. You show the work, it engages the public, starts a discussion, starts a dialogue. So that's really, that in a way, it's really what my work's about, starting a dialogue and maybe start like a healing process for them. It's a Holocaust. And one thing that really strikes me also is when you see the man, when they're captured, the people that are responsible, like the heads of the cartels and the hitmen, and I look at them, and I'm like, that looks like my cousin, or looks like my brother. That could be me. That similarity really scares me. But there are other stories, there's incredible amount of dramatic quality to the stories of, people leaving, like this one here, it's, people crossing the river, they're coming from Ciudad Juarez into El Paso. There's an incredible, love of family, people risking their lives to better care for their families. I think we hear a lot of sound bites on the news, and as an artist, I'm trying to do my part to expand upon those, sound bites.
We'll have more stories about the Mexican elections and how they may affect the border region in the coming weeks. The London Olympics are about 7 weeks away, and if you want to look like an Olympian, head down to Chula Vista to the U.S. Olympic Training Center. The Team USA shop opened its doors today, selling all kinds of Olympic gear, from clothes in all sizes to hats, pins, journals, even stickers. The U.S. Olympic Committee runs the store, and this is one of only 2 retail locations in the country. Proceeds benefit U.S. athletes.
Our athletes aren't like the professional basketball players or hockey players. When an athlete is lucky enough to get support from us, it's typically just enough to pay rent and to buy some groceries. It's $20,000, not $2 million or $20 million. So.
Unlike athletes in other countries, U.S. Olympic hopefuls receive no government funding. One of the most grueling bike races in the world is underway. Last night, we brought you a profile of San Diego bike racer Mike Wilson. KPBS video journalist Katie Ufrat was there to catch his start today.
And shout out to everybody that came out from San Diego. Thank you guys so much.
Mike Wilson started the nearly 3,000-mile race across America today, along with 37 other solo male riders from 20 different countries. I spoke with him moments before he approached the start line at Oceanside Pier.
For me, this is basically the Olympics. This is where it starts. This has been a dream for 6 years, and I'm so thrilled to be here and giddy with excitement and just ready for them to call my name.
Riders rarely stop to sleep, eat, or go to the bathroom. Many cyclists hallucinate from lack of sleep. A handful of riders have died in past races. Knowing that, Wilson anticipated his emotions would run high at the start.
I'll probably be tempted to cry. I will just, if I could say thank you to every single person that's come out today, that's exactly what I'd like to do. And I don't know, just probably absolute sheer joy and terror.
You got 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Mike Wilson from San Diego.
Wilson hopes to cross the finish line unscathed in Annapolis, Maryland in less than 12 days.
And you can follow Mike Wilson's progress every day on an interactive map at kpbs.org.
Tonight in the public square, a fact check by our media partner, voiceofsandiego.org. Earlier this month, San Diego City Attorney Jan Goldsmith made a claim about managed competition while on KPBS. Managed competition is the process by which some city services are put out to bid to see whether the private sector can provide those services for less money. Goldsmith said so far, city employees have won all the bids. Voice of San Diego fact check, and it turns out it's true. The public services include street sweeping, publishing, and vehicle maintenance. You can see the entire fact check and more about managed competition at voiceofsandiego.org. If you've got your own fact check to tell us about, something you heard a public official say, email me, jfarian@kpbs.org, or you can post it on Twitter or Facebook. We always say we've got the smartest audience in town, and we love hearing from you.
And you can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thanks for joining us. You have a great night.